Good morning and welcome to the Cup. But this shirt, it's war.
How?
It's really nice. I kind of believe. I don't think you bought it.
I have grown-up daughters. They're getting married because they're doing things.
Of course you can afford it, but the taste is top notch.
I am aging gracefully.
Aging gracefully.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
NRM has been campaigning, so where are you now in the campaigns? Where are you from? What's next?
Samugari, because elections have become very violent. You need some.
Now that is my...
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
In NRM, we wish everybody well. And good morning, our listeners.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure for me to be here this morning, fresh from the primary elections, beginning to gather the returns, but also getting the complaints and hearing what people say. I almost have all the flag bearers now, apart from the SIGs. If it becomes, it is his group and the others that are yet to give us the flag bearers. But for us, we want to begin the process of induction and teaching them how to campaign without a galley, so that we can have very good elections in Uganda, these coming elections. Why should people have a galley when there is security and there is everything that should guarantee peace and the process of elections?
But for the joy, only music could explain.
Just before,
note by note.
Ask you, should we give him something, or is it the NRM way we give Dombo here something, or
what do you mean something?
Something.
I think giving him something is in order. Yeah.
This is national radio, so you need to be careful.
There are chapatis in the studio. Chapatis and samosas.
Raymond Mujuni has bailed you out. You can serve chapati and so.
Yes.
Star Cafe chapati and we give him a do. You're most welcome to gang, Raymond Mujuni.
Thank you so much.
Had recent happiness and then recent loss.
Yes. Unfortunately, I had loss and happiness two weekends in a row, but I'm happy to be back.
Yes, good too.
And unfortunately, I'm in a blue shirt and seated in someone's chair. I don't know if this indicates that transition is happening.
It is not a strong blue, so we cannot put you in firmly. And well, actually, transition, because even Abdul, who's on his way, is also no longer blue.
Oh dear.
When I come and talk about old Kira Road, I hadn't talked about it. They've patched up some areas. I think the locals put in some mud. But last week someone told me, don't stop talking about old Kira Road. Talk about Mitiana to Fort Porto.
My goodness. It's a miracle we are still voting Museveni, by the way. It's a huge miracle.
Are you voting?
I actually counted this. There's 73 kilometers of bad road on the road to Fort Porto.
73.
Yes, the first part, the terrible one, is between Mitiana, getting to Movende, and then after that, Kenjojo all through is a very, very terrible road.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he likes to talk about roads, the president of Uganda.
So they've mobilized a contractor for Mitiana Movende, and you can see the contractor is on hand and working, but there is no one working on Kenjojo at the moment. I think when the president visited for the PDM tour, the matter was raised and he said that they are finding the money. Yes.
But Oscar, you need to know that while that road is bad, there are many ongoing roads projects around the country, and we can't do all things at the same time. But certainly, and that Toro region, just have a new road from Fort Porto
to Kamwenge,
Ibanda, and
Chiruhura.
I'm not sure it qualifies as new compared to the roads you have now. In the east, you have the much newer roads.
Which one? In fact, you have more roads in Hoima and the police. But the point I'm making here is
yes, the one you're referring to is far. You didn't want a tourist to. The one you're calling a new road.
Yeah, I would take you 7 hours to get to Fort Portal.
It also has some now potholes.
Of course, roads are like human beings, they fall sick.
No, they shouldn't fall sick so soon.
They fall sick. I think what we are lacking here is we don't factor in regular maintenance in the budgeting.
Very
because
true.
of limited resources, but also outlook of people. If you go to many of our homes, we really have money for maintaining our own homes. When the system, the handle breaks, you put a kawuzi. When the window glass breaks, you put a cardboard. So, I think we transfer that in public management.
Benjamin Katana, you're most welcome to the Capital Gang.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Oscar, good morning to you and the listeners of the show. I have had 2 nasty experiences on that Fort Portal road. One, my car fell in the ditch and the tire burst. The second one, a colleague who was driving from Kasese. We had traveled for some social event and I was following him. The truck, he was dodging a pothole, the truck was dodging a pothole and they collided.
Hopefully no fatalities.
No, he survived.
So means the speed wasn't friendly.
And he's an NRM supporter, so
Secondary.
Whether the road has potholes, surely you should observe the speed limit.
Upon that, I'd like to tell you there are some roads on which you cannot speed. That's changed your Fort Portal road. You cannot.
You cannot, even if you wanted.
Even in a Sinotrack, you would not
So
speed.
are you saying Katana is not?
They were not speeding.
Being economical with the truth.
actually if I was speeding, I don't think I would have survived because the tire burst as a result of that pothole that I hit. So if I was speeding, maybe the car would have turned or something like that.
By the time a tire bursts because of a pothole,
They are quite huge. I don't know if you have driven on that road.
it also shows that the pothole was big, but also the speed could have been slightly high.
Not necessarily. You should drive Old Kira Road and you'll see what we are talking about.
There must be many tire bursts along with Kira Road.
Possible, but now very few cars are there.
But I mean, I also have uncles who do business on Rohandika Street in Fort Portal, and many of the trucks which have traditionally made that route now are just mechanically defunct. So people have stopped. They've now reverted to the smaller trucks to go through the road. So there's a massive problem with the road itself.
It's probably affecting the economy of the region as well.
It is, definitely.
And you vote NRM. So let's start there. How was the voting primaries in that area?
The presence of problems and the capacity of choice are different things in Toro region. I think that for Toro region, I think traditionally the NRM has been strong there. It's a massive stronghold. In any case, your path to parliament starts with getting the NRM ticket. And in many areas, this by far is the actual election. The NRM by-election is the actual election. After that, many of the systems that would traditionally help you in an election are not with you. So the voting was largely peaceful in Toro region. There were skirmishes and incidences within the Fort Portal municipal itself, but yes, the city. we still refer to it as the municipal. The government says it's a city, but it's
the locals know.
Yes, there were some little skirmishes, but the voting itself was largely peaceful. Many of the incumbents bounced back, with the exception of Minister Mtuzo, who was defeated in Bunyangabu. But the incumbent in Alex Ruhunda bounced back. The incumbent woman MP Linda bounced back. So the voting was, I would say, largely peaceful, same old affair. But I also did notice from at least the returning results that I saw that the voter turnout was really low. And that should signal something to the NRM, that in a traditional stronghold like that one, you traditionally have many voters showing up. People were winning the election with 9,000 votes in a constituency of 40,000, 50,000 voters. Yeah, so there's a problem with the voter turnout in general, yes.
But perhaps it wasn't so competitive, hence the lack of violence. So
it was very competitive. In many of the positions, you had at least 4 candidates, and the winning was really on small and fine margins. I don't know a place where NRM primaries are more competitive than Toro and maybe Greater Ankole. Yes. But it was a very competitive affair. I don't know what magic the security services used, but for the first time, there was massive restraint from security services in getting involved in the elective process itself. Yes, there was very little in terms of military and police officials getting involved in the electoral process itself.
But isn't that the usual when it is an NRM primary? When it's national election, then maybe that's when you'll have the involvement.
Well, there are some secrets of Toro that I don't think we should say on radio, but we have our secrets sometimes. You can tell that the military is getting involved on some matters, particularly where they feel, there might be an overwhelming source of violence if the result comes out a different way. Other times it's because of the heated nature of the campaigning period that leads into the voting. For example, the City Woman MP had 4 contenders, and all of them were really powerful people. Sylvia Rabogo had been there before. Linda was the incumbent. Victoria Bagaya was a face on TV. And the campaigning was really heated leading into the election. So I had anticipated that the police would get involved at some point, but there was some restraint.
I have seen a video going around of a fellow, a man brandishing a pistol, pointing it at people and all. And my suspicion is he won't be charged because these were NRM primaries.
Yeah, I think that I saw Ntungamo, I saw Henry Musasi's constituencies, which had actual gunshots. There was violence in Lwemiyaga, in many of the polling areas. There was violence in Ntungamo, where the incumbent MP was defeated. Yeah, so there were incidents of violence. Yeah. In other areas, I think the violence was controlled because both sides had capacity to cause chaos. So there was a balance of terror in those constituencies.
I'll put the question to Honorable Dombo here. But what I was putting to, do you think they'll get charged?
I highly doubt that any of them, in any case, they should have been charged by now. I have my doubts. I don't think that the system is wired in such a way to arrest.
It will depend on whether somebody will complain or the evidence of the video circulating around can become admissible evidence or a basis for charging someone.
The lawyer is here.
The police will tell us it's the responsibility.
We have 2 lawyers in the studio. Because your response, Honorable.
Yeah, because for Musasi's constituencies, there was
the answer has been given.
There was actual gunshots in Musasi's constituency. There more than 12 gunshots at the district returning office. Those, I think someone should be charged for that.
Yeah. Perhaps if they didn't shoot, somebody would have been killed. It would be helpful. I
also saw the former counter-terrorism head, John Ndugutse, squaring it off with police officers and fighting. In Chiruhura, there was an incident where a man slapped the police on camera. So those incidences should perhaps be investigated and maybe people brought to book.
Absolutely.
Abdu is in the studio. You're most welcome. You've been looking at Honorable Dombo in amazement. Mm-hmm. If someone shoots a weapon or brandishes a pistol to a crowd, someone should complain first before they get charged.
Well, a responsible government would certainly take it up because you see, it's what we call lawyers know criminality is not a crime against the victim. It is a crime against the state. It's a crime against the country. That's why if Emmanuel Dombo goes ahead and commits a crime, I wouldn't want to say which crime. It would be Uganda versus Emmanuel Dombo. It can't be the person who has been a victim of Dombo's crime. So responsible governments, fair governments cannot allow criminality and say, well, let people complain. No, they should really, especially where there is evidence, like all of us saw on social media. They should investigate it and say, look here, yes, we've seen this, but apparently this is not of Pondo, this is artificial intelligence and so on. Because they owe Ugandans an explanation. More especially the place where it is alleged it took place. And secondly, even to the only party members, if there is a crime being committed, it is being committed against a party member. So if you think it is okay, so long as somebody has not complained, but there was somebody who was actually threatened, I think you are being irresponsible, Emmanuel.
And in Busoga, were there any surprises, any violence, any peaceful lines?
First of all, generally in Busoga, other than a few areas, there was generally a low turn up. But two, we had a few places of violence.
Raymond has like said low turn up, but is it because they were using their voters register, or maybe that's what's on the register?
No. Actually, when you look at like in my constituency, I know the numbers because I monitor each and every polling station in my constituency. Actually, I deployed 2 agents at every polling station to see exactly what was going on.
The questions that were coming.
I mean, that is...
He knows that NRM people are his voters.
That's true. I'm an independent, and many of my voters belong to the NRM. But secondly, if you are going to compete, you must know exactly what you are competing against. Yeah. So, one, there was low turnout. And that gave opportunity to the candidates who were a little bit stronger to fill in whatever results they wanted. Because I saw in my place, we really had one stronger candidate. The rest really, they didn't have agents at the polling station and so on. In violence, I don't know whether Emmanuel knows this, but I think there was one death in Kamuli.
Yes, we do.
There was one death in Kamuli. A few skirmishes here and there.
What were the circumstances to that death?
Well, there was a death during the process, and it was a gunshot. You get it. The circumstances, I don't have the details. But it was during that process. So I think the police owes the public an explanation, or if the former NRM spokesperson, am I right? Has the facts, then he can easily give the public. Two, we also had stiff competition in many areas, and it shows some attrition rate a little bit high of the incumbents, but which is not surprising to me, because ordinarily that's what we go through in my sub-region. More or less the same. So Busoga was behaving normally in throwing out some of these people.
Apart from the perennial survivors.
That also will be, Busoga will behave normally also.
So any new person coming up from Busoga? Remember Busoga in the last election was not a happy place for NRM.
New persons, yes. Many MPs lost, including 2 ministers, 2 cabinet ministers. Actually, 2, 3.
Who are these ones?
There's actually 3. Okay, 2.5, because one day she had lost, but I think they're ordering what?
Who's
3 had lost, Namugaza had lost, but somehow they're ordering, I think, a redo of the area. But Honorable Gume lost, and also Honorable Chakulaga, the State Minister of Agriculture, was lost. Many incumbents, many, you're talking about more or less is about 50% of incumbents did lose. Did lose. And then the people coming in are new, except 2 are making a comeback. One is Moses Valieku, who was a member of parliament last parliament. And then it seems Honorable Isaac Musumba is back.
In NRM?
Yeah, as a flag bearer. I think the incumbent Muzale lost. The rest are all new, and they are not names to talk about.
I hope they are listening,
because they are still new, perhaps.
that is true. Because they are new. They are not names we know.
Right.
You get it? So I didn't mean that. I didn't use it in a derogatory way, but I think we did know them.
Yeah.
Yes, they are not public figures. If I mention a name here, I'm sure Ska will say, who is that one? So that's what I meant.
Okay. Benjamin Katana on NRM. You watched at a distance. Do you know in Kampala there's still a result not announced yet? It was, I don't know, Emmanuel will tell us eventually. I heard someone went with something.
No, they're still counting.
But there also seemed...
No, someone went with one of a...
There seemed not to be any activity taking place on that day in Kampala. It was largely lukewarm. And most of those young people that have...
Moses Biaruhanga has put a bet with our gangs here, Namfuka, that NRM will win Kampala, hands down.
Well, you see, the beauty of time is that that time will come to pass.
Right.
Where I come from, they say that when you tell a lie about a person who has gone to graze cows, when he returns in the evening, that lie will fall flat. So
and time never cheats you.
Yeah, time never cheats you. And like talking about the NRM primaries, the good English speakers like Ofono Opondo here would say the chicken have come home to roast.
Yeah.
I have seen I've seen videos of Honorable Musa Echeru complaining about vote rigging. I've seen a video of Honorable Bahati complaining about vote rigging. And these are people who...
Did they both lose?
Yes, and these are people who for a long time have... when people complain about fraud in our elections, they say these are bad losers. So I pray that Ofono Pondo wins, so that he doesn't make similar complaints and people remind him that you have always told those who complain about irregularities. Yeah, but the violence in the electoral process is not surprising. And if you do mapping...
In electoral or in NRM?
Well, in both.
Oh, okay.
If you do mapping of these skirmishes that really were very bad, you realize that largely in places that have powerful people, untouchables, who know that shooting people is not going to attract reprimand. I believe why there were small pockets of violence in some places like Toro, it's on account of not having very powerful people running for office. But in regions like Ankole, I think after the NRM government has left power, we will need to have a disarmament exercise like we have been having in Karamoja. So you saw people casually pulling out guns.
Say it again.
You saw people casually pulling out guns.
I like that description.
Yes.
Disarmament only if the guns
Pardon?
Disarmament only if the guns
are illegal.
Yeah. But most of
What of if they are if they are misused?
Yeah. No, it can also be illegal but irregular.
No, it can be illegal, but it's being misused.
And being misused, yes. So but also that the history of NRM is a history of violence. And so those who...
Why do you say that?
Well, NRM came to power through violence, it has maintained power through violence. In every electoral process that we have had in this country, we have countless deaths. And the explanation from the NRM has been that these opposition people are provoking the security forces. I don't know if you have seen a video of the retired, I think, AIG Pindungute, physically fighting with soldiers. I think I've also seen the one of Nabanja being assaulted by some young man I was with in the youth student movement called Onesimus TWINAMASIKO, and a number of other incidents. Yes.
Where were her bodyguards?
Well,
Okay.
you have seen there's another one in Rwampara, another lady who were within the student movement also fighting with the chairman of NRM Electoral Commission. So we have had in 2001 we had people killed. In 2006 we had people killed. Recently in 2021 we had people killed Why? Because of electoral competition. So it has become synonymous with elections in Uganda, that those who have power, who can use guns and there are no reprimands, will use them. Those who can use, I was speaking to a journalist who was deployed in Zimbabwe on the day of elections in Remiaga. And he said, what we have witnessed here is like what we saw in the elections of 2021. Numberless cars, picking people from their homes, picking people from the polling stations. And so when these things are happening to people that do not support government, the government people quickly dismiss them. But one thing they forget is that they are building a culture of impunity, a culture of abusing influence and power. And when it is their turn to face off with people, even internally within the NRM, that have more power and influence, they also fall victim. The other aspect is voter bribery. I come from Bushenyi. People, even at almost every polling station, people were being paid to vote.
That was almost all over.
Yes.
People were being paid
all over the country.
Yeah. So even the NRM.
Abdul, before you came, we promised to give Emmanuel Dombo Sumbusa, Samosa, and Star Cafe goodies here on behalf of OO. No payments.
Sir, you can hand over Tareja for him. So this during the general elections, of course the NRM people, on account of access to state coffers, but also from donations from people who want to benefit the business community, the brokers in town, the tenderpreneurs. So they distribute money across the country. But this time, even internally, some NRM people who have always not seen a problem with that because they are beneficiaries, but because now it is disadvantaging them. I think you have seen videos of people saying we have been supporters of NRM, but what has happened this in particular constituency is unacceptable. But so this is what we have been saying, that we should build a culture of playing by the rules. So that regardless of where you stand politically, you are protected by the same rules. Regardless of the candidate you support, whether it's in internal elections or outside internal party processes, that you are protected by the same rules. We are not making and advocating for a culture of rules because it's an easy way to taking power. These people will say we want a shortcut. No. The rules protect everyone and benefit everyone. Equally, impunity, once allowed to flourish, does not discriminate. It may not affect you today, but it will affect you tomorrow. So this thing of violence in our elections, the thing of corruption and bribery, the thing of fraud in our elections, where the third person is declared as a winner. In fact, it has been commonplace in general elections, but now it is happening in Abdul's backyard in Bugabra. I know that the registrar and the administrator were arrested for declaring the third person. Now they are waiting for the chairman of the NRM Electoral Commission to go there and probably announce the right people. I don't know what will happen, but so these problems, once they are allowed to flourish, it's a floodgate. You don't know where it will stop.
In fact, just picking up on that, Emmanuel Dombo, what Benjamin Katana is saying here, in Zimbabwe, Remiaga, isn't it a general on a woman MP's declaration form?
Well, we are waiting for the full story and the details. I wouldn't want to come here because I speak on behalf of the party. I would want to come and give an authentic position that has been synthesized. But these elections, by and large, I want to thank my colleagues and the general observation that has been made. Yesterday I was in one of the programs with the charity Ahimbisiwe. And as an election observer, she gave compliments to the process, irrespective of the challenges that she raised. And one of the social media responses was that Dombo has bought you I've had here my friend also giving compliments to the processes compared to what had happened in the past. The period preceding the elections, during the campaigns, we experienced some heavy violence. And this, like the adage says that forewarned, you get forearmed. It enabled the Secretary General to work with the agencies of government in order to say what should we do in order to have a credible process, but also to guarantee security to enable the people to express their democracy. When we were on one of the programs, he said that the entire Kampala on a Tuesday was empty, on a Thursday. That it was like it was a Sunday because all the people had gone outside to go and vote. To me, I asked him after the program, I said, but you say NRM doesn't have people. Now you are saying that the entire Kampala, all people had gone to vote. So what do you say? When we give our numbers of 18 million, you dispute. When the Kampala gets vacant because people have gone to vote, what's the population of Kampala when you look around? So this process, to us as the national resistance movement, we have got so many lessons to learn. And I want to tell you that when we finally make the comprehensive report, if they agree for us to go public on some of the issues, we are going to give the public the assurances and the issues that we are going to tackle to make the subsequent elections better. We had in these areas where you saw the highest contention, it is either areas where people have stayed for a longer time, constituencies where the incumbents have been there for some time. The contestation becomes higher because people begin saying, how do we get rid of Dombo? How can you occupy this period? And there are many young people and people want to get there, but you're not getting out. They want to use money, you have it. They want to use this, you have better position. So they escalate the processes and the way they do certain things. We have taken note of this, and the national chairman will give guidance through the appropriate structures on how best we can do certain things. But also, there are people who have used the impunity. People have used the impunity. Some people, because of their proximity to the government, to the generals in the army, or to some officers in police. Previously, there are some individuals who misbehaved. But this time, the Inspector General of Police, first of all, put up a structure, which he gave us a copy on how he made the command and the structure and operation, subdividing Uganda in various smaller regions. So that reaction time becomes quicker. And two, all security was police-led, like the rules and the Constitution says. Where the army was used, it was at the request of the Inspector General of Police, so that they reinforce, because you know that this is a mega election. This is bigger than the general election, because we have polling centers at 72,000 and more polling stations. Even if you deployed all the policemen in Uganda, you'd have problems elsewhere because of crime cropping up, because the entire police is manning elections. So we had to rely on the goodwill of the candidates and the individuals, but also on the scattered police that had been deployed and using the mechanism to run up and down.
Yeah.
Finally,
before finally, is your disciplinary committee going to work?
Absolutely, yes. The disciplinary committee, first of all, there are two issues. When we are going for the elections, the party secretariat sat with the national chairman and raised this issue about the provisions of the NRM Constitution. Why should people come up as independents contesting against the candidates? A specific provision. If we do that, you're expelled from the party. And the national chairman said, yes, that's what he says, but also the Constitution says that you must have credible processes internally. So he said, where do you begin? Do you begin with the expulsion, or do you begin with the internal processes? And for us,
so
he gave a directive.
Right now,
and he gave a directive. He said, let's have a register, and a credible register, and then two, let us use it. Once we have used it and the processes are okay, and somebody decides to go against, then you can invoke the rules and the regulations. Now, we have used the register. We are waiting for the report to find out how it has been executed. Finally, when people begin their petitions, they will be treated on their merit. But also the Central Executive Committee, through the chairperson himself, he set up a tribunal because we knew every election. Oscar, I admire. I'm now doing a research about the Catholic Church and the elections. For them, by the time they chose to say you must wait for smoke and only smoke, you not know what happened inside there. There must have been a history about what encountered inside there.
Now that you are doing some research, tell us what was that history.
So by the time they decided, very high credible people, highly learned, to say what happened is inside, let it be for us, and let the people outside wait for the smoke. And when you see black, it means this. When you see white, I wish you could do that in NRM.
Emmanuel Tombo, you remember there's a position, you only printed one form. Only one application form for a certain position in the NRM. So you also have your way of smoke.
You know, where you have a party with the Central Executive Committee making resolutions, the debate at one time was the party a SEC resolution and a constitutional provision, which one is superior to the other. It was outrightly observed that the party constitution was superior, so the second form was printed, albeit belatedly. But
on the day of handing it in.
Albert, belatedly.
Ofono, the good news is our person, Lydia Wanyoto, and she'll be back next week. Now is the flag bearer. That's really good news. The not so good news, the young man.
She was the flag bearer.
No? Was she?
Yes, she was the flag bearer.
Even then she was.
Well, let's congratulate her on this time round.
Congratulations.
But then our friend Abigaba, who is one who likes to challenge the NRM oldies, he was due to come here and face off with Dombo and Oponopono. He had an accident somewhere in Abdul's area. So
this morning
in Kamuli, yes.
Sorry.
So, but there's some good news from the primaries.
Yes. One leg of that one limb is that we have had a relatively comprehensive credible register. Now, you remember last election, we didn't have a credible register. Actually, we didn't have a register, and the chairman came up and said, whoever says NRM, allow them to vote. And we voted without the register. That's what gave us the flag bearers and the MPs we currently have. Although we did that, those results reflected in general terms the wishes, the will of the voters in the NRM primaries in 2020. This time around, we have used the register. Like Dombo says, we wait from the complaints. But there have been complaints about infecting the registers.
In some areas, registers were used, others no.
Yeah. Also, there are areas where the crowds come and they say, you either allow us to vote or no voting. Don't use the register. If you are a returning officer, you are one person or two. In that circumstance, you may choose to let people vote rather than have violence. So we have those cases. Now, Raymond, next door in the change of all incumbents were routed in change of Honorable Tombo Time chose to duck the election. I suspect, I haven't talked to him.
Maybe he retired.
He retired.
He's not ducking.
JJ Odongo also.
No, yeah, I think he had expressed.
That expression also. There was a police constable there who had gone in that constituency, and I think he had an upper hand, and I think the general said, maybe let me give in. My surprise was
but you know also
Musa.
I think is being, you see, if somebody notices that and takes such a decision, you need to congratulate him.
That's good.
You don't have to be cynical about it.
I'm not cynical.
I think it's decent on his part.
You are the one who just said there are people whose names you don't even want to mention. So please.
Because he doesn't know them yet.
No. Do you remember what he said?
They are not known.
I know, he said not what he talked about.
What says your word?
So, anyway, my surprise was honestly Musechweru. Because having been traveling through Amuria, his constituency, as I go to Kapelebiong regularly, I felt he was strong on the ground. So I was taken by surprise that he lost. I have not listened to him complaining. I haven't talked to him. I want to understand. I want to understand what he's complaining about, because he has been there for long. He knows every polling station. He knows every official. What was that? What was that he didn't fix? That
was it a comprehensive loss?
Yeah.
A loss is a loss.
Now,
sometimes there's a convincing loss.
In my constituency, West Budama Central, the turn-up was high. We have about 39,000 voters in West Budama Central. 34,000 turned up. 77%. In the whole of Tororo, we had very good competition. I think for woman member of parliament, there were 12 candidates. I did not notice violence towards or on polling day, except in one constituency, one village, the constituency of Honorable Otana, that Iolwa sub-county, where on polling day, rival groups shoved each other, and eventually a supporter of Honorable Otana, I think, was badly beaten and taken to
you don't have so much history of violence in elections in your area. The only time you've had close to that was when we were discussing the separation of districts and so on. There, at that time, you showed good potential for a fight. And the previous it was Dombo himself who started the fight.
We have continued NRM to have badly behaved election officials. Apart from what you talked, I think Katan is the one who talked about. We have had in Tingei, in Kapcholo, where the registrar fled yesterday morning without declaring results.
Really?
Yes. He went into hiding. Police mounted a search and eventually found where he was hiding.
Very creative person.
They are saying they found him with a good amount of money.
Yeah.
He was trying to fidget.
That was his money.
He had bundles of 20,000 notes. I saw the police finally intercepted him in the car.
He's a rich man.
Well, he's a rich man. We cannot deny. But when they asked him the source of the money, he couldn't explain it. At least in
the use
report
of money is worrisome. You saw videos. I'm yet to verify those videos where you find candidates, ministers, actually by themselves distributing money.
By the time you don't even have somebody to help you.
Yes.
There's some assistant commissioner in the president's office also was doing that. Actually, I have videos.
In Guru by the Dege, there was somebody, I don't know whether it was an agent of an undeclared agent of a candidate. On polling day, he was giving money. In the ongoing, particularly for the special interest group where I'm running, is worrisome. I have seen young people, as we crisscross campaigning, you see somebody running for youth MP. You see the vehicles they drive, you see the kind of money they give, and physical items. Sometimes you say, this young person hasn't won. Has he inherited some wealth, or did he go under the leg and got some money? In my own election, our own campaign, you see a candidate saying, you voters, I'm going to pick you 6 days before election. I will keep you in a hotel in Kampala.
They call it camp.
Yeah. A minister, incumbent, doing that, moving around with the chairman of the National Elders Council, and that's now when you see them giving money and say, But that one we can deal with, and I hope we shall deal with. If they hide, we're going to call the police. So yeah.
But what crime would they have committed if they hide from you, for you to call the police?
Anyway, there's a lot of bad manners of the election officials and with the candidates. And unfortunately, it has recurred since we began NRM elections, and we have not had stringent measures to deter. I just hope we can reach that time when we pick 2-3 people and we make them example of flouting electoral rules, or even breaching the law, so that we stand firm and disqualify. I think that will send a strong message that many people will not dare repeat, especially repeating with impunity.
We're going to stop for a break and I'll get you back on. I saw once a video of police not liking a red car driving into NUP headquarters, and they came in, rushed in, drove the car out. So they have capacity to work on what they don't like.
No, I'm talking about we as the NRM party. Like now, we catch a candidate or we catch an election official doing some malignant things, which offends the party rules, offends the electoral law, offends the national laws. And we make that person an example where you disqualify, probably you even dismiss from the party, and you say you won't participate in NRM activities.
I'm sure you also notice many government resources being put to these campaigns. Government vehicles, government officers, civil servants running around on government fuel and government vehicles all over the place.
First pause there. Let's pause. We stop for a break. We'll come back from the break. Plenty of discussion still on the election. Moses Biarahanga tells you that what if a shooting was to disperse a possibly violent crowd? Nora Waraga says, I think the low turnout was because of a method of voting, lining up. Imagine the wrath of a landlord or a spouse or a parent when you line up behind their opponents, especially if you have eaten their money.
Just some little information in respect to that. In some place, the people could not turn up to vote because they had eaten money from different candidates. Yes. Because now, if you go and line up behind when you have eaten his money and Dombo's money, it becomes a problem.
I beg your pardon?
I can assure that these days, people eat money from different sides.
Yeah.
Whoever takes money, they cheat.
Yeah.
Whether at the parliament, whether at a village, people eat money from wherever they can get it.
Yeah.
But maybe there should be a distinction between
the
voters.
Videos come out very quickly. Now someone has sent me the video of the IGP fighting a military man.
Yes.
So that one is now available.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying, I think when Parliament was making the electoral law, closing out government resources, vehicles, and so on, they don't put in mind that elections start way before the general election.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think there may be need to amend the law to encompass elections in the parties.
Correct.
So that, for example, you don't have ministers, civil servants, their allies deploying government resources in the party in internal elections. Like now, invariably, wherever a minister has been standing, they are using government resources.
Even
other public officers.
Other public officers.
So
I think misusing.
I think there's a need to amend that law to bar, even in the internal party elections, whether it was once we have a gazetted period for party elections, we have that. But generally speaking, this election, I think, it was much better, like everyone has observed. Yes, there was violence, but isolated, but low intensity also. Now, the death in Kamuri, Honorable Bud was referring to, it was a day before the elections, where a camp of one candidate invaded the home of another candidate at night, 9 p.m. Unknown to them, this candidate, I think, had...
Oh, this was electoral, not
election
criminal.
Not election day. No.
I mean, previous.
I think this person had known from the tensions of the campaign.
Okay, the member of parliament.
And asked for police deployment in his home. So these people went, broke through his gate violently, entered his compound, and in the melee, police shot. It is police which was guarding the home, which shot a person. So it is really a criminal intent, because why would you go at night to invade
and break through
a gate, a metallic gate, whichever gate it was, and you break through at night, 9 p.m. So, really,
why do you conclude that it is to do with elections rather than criminality?
Because it was
on the eve.
First of all, it was on the eve, but it was also a mob of known supporters of his opponent.
Oh.
Yes.
Violence is violence.
Yeah, I'm saying so.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about the circumstance. A thing like that, surely you who is mobilized to go and attack a rival at night in his home, you should think twice. It shouldn't be done. I can understand if we started insulting each other at a public rally, and then our rivals feel agitated and fight. Maybe that one you can understand, but really at night, that you plan to go and invade the home of another person, that shouldn't be accepted at all.
People are picking up on the roads. Your friend Karamaji is being a bit cheeky here. Looked at all these MPs that benefit from Kampala Photo Route, saying these are the MPs that should be tasking. Name, area, phone number, email address.
Yeah, but you see, even us in this, I heard when I was coming, Raymond talking about, that in the east the roads are better, and I'm like, have you ever been to the east?
No, from
Kampala, just from Jinja Kampala. Do you know how long it takes? And this is our gateway to the country.
From Kampala, Apple would drive on a tarmac to his home, save for the 50 meters.
I'm looking at Kampala Jinja.
No, but there's there's alternative. At least there's alternative. Kisoga, Kokonjero. Only that you don't want to change your mindset.
Speaker here says,
the other.
I saw the Minister of Gender handing out 4x4s to cultural leaders. If that man had gone into fixing the roads in their kingdoms, you never know. But
I just wanted to conclude.
Yeah, conclude.
Since we started NRM elections in 2005, each time we have been losing between 20 and 30 ministers at the NRM primaries. You can go and check that record. This time it appears many more ministers have survived, because so far only 10 or 11 have lost. So I think this time, generally, the ministers have performed relatively well, and you know that we lose 67%. That's the attrition rate when we go for the NRM primaries. When we go to the national one, again,
it's around that.
It's about that. So it is a trend that appears to be consistent. Why? We need to investigate and find out why MPs don't retain, and yet we need that retention for to build people who are skilled in legislative matters. Currently, we have many people who have never been anywhere near public offices, and they are unwilling. They have no humility to learn. You listen to that parliament, it's just.
You are accusing me of saying
no. I'm going
the party has a working memorandum with the Chinese Communist Party. How do you reconcile the fact that you can't keep the elites of the party in the party at a high level for long?
When we were framing our constitution, there was a debate. When we go for membership, going through leaders of the party, do we do like the Chinese Communist Party? Do we do like CCM? Do we do like ANC, where at every stage there is a vetting of people who are coming into? And we said no. With these bad manners, you will have Ofono, who is enjoying the chairperson of a district, eliminating Abudu. And we said, for now, let us try to promote democracy. Whoever comes in, let them. That's why you have somebody. Yesterday was in Nup. Today he says today he says I am NRM.
Okay, so go to the microphone.
And actually runs for member of parliament. The person who was defeated, Honorable Chakulaga, was in Nup in the last election. A young man. He converts to NRM and now has got the flag. So
at least the one who has been defeated.
So we need to balance democracy or vetting.
Yes, and discipline.
With this bad manners, you can easily find.
But I can also tell your class that particular, because it's neighboring my constituency.
Yes.
That man who won actually the previous election. But somehow he did. The Honorable Chaklaga used the system, the state structure. So when he realized that actually it is this problem, he went and addressed by joining them. And he won.
I'm even by that. I'm even surprised because like 8 months ago, Chaklaga as a friend, he told me that he thought he was tired of elective politics and had considered stepping aside, not going to election. All of a sudden, I saw him again coming in. And because I'm running, so you will hear.
Let me go to Benjamin here. A few surprises. Charles Mwanguya, Simon Muyanga. I thought they would do well. These are like known all over.
Well,
or is Raymond better qualified to, since they come from
actually,
Raymond's territory?
Incidentally,
media. No, these are media.
Incidentally,
I mean media. Okay.
Yeah, incidentally, the voting patterns, especially in the different regions of the country, are influenced by a number of factors. I may be a very good debater on Capital Gang and somewhere else, but the people who are going to vote, this may not be a very big consideration. And sometimes in some constituencies where money play is a very big factor, you find that people will choose money over anything. And then sometimes people forge alliances with more powerful people. So the particular constituencies, I may not know what influenced the voting, but what I know for a fact is that voting is not necessarily influenced by abilities in some of the constituencies. But also there was on some WhatsApp group that I belong to, there was a debate about new defectors who just joined NRM, that most of them were defeated. So for that the NRM people now didn't want to welcome people that you cannot just convert to the Anglican Church today and you want to become a bishop the next day. So that could, I say one of our former colleagues in NUP, the erratic Kagabo, I saw he was also given a whipping in Rwengo. But the elections in Rwengo were very violent also. But yeah, I think the factors influencing voting patterns are very diverse. Some of the things that Oscar may appreciate, some voters may not appreciate. So that may have been the problem of people like Charles. Yeah.
Did Honorable Kabanda stand for any NRM position?
Kabanda won in Kasambia. Yes, he won.
Oscar, I think for maybe not just zero down on the specifics, the use in Charles's constituency particularly, the person in Mangusha, yes, the person who won that constituency was a former servant in the National Water and Sewerage Corporation. I don't know if this is an abuse of position, but he used his position to get many parishes water. And he came into the election with a lot of money. He was dishing out a lot of money. Now, Charles is a very good candidate. In fact, he polled higher than the district chairman who had also come into the MP race. But you can't defeat a person who has both money and has delivered things like water in those constituencies. So For Charles, it was unfortunate. He still stands a chance if he comes as an independent, but it's a difficult constituency. It also has ethnic undertones. It also has many other socio-economic undertones. It has, like Mr. Dombo here said, Catholic Church, Anglican Church rivalries, land contestations. And on some of those matters, Charles is a moderate. He doesn't want to state his ground on where he falls, and yet voters want you to state one side and fall with it. And that I think factored a great deal into how his election panned out.
Interesting. Greens Kansime says, "Good morning, gangsters." This is on X, formerly Twitter. Voters of Kiruhura, Kazombara district, Mbara city, all incumbents district women members of parliament were overwhelmingly defeated. Voting was very peaceful, unlike previous ones. And then he goes on to say, congratulations.
That is indeed true. There was a shock defeat in Mbarara City. The two traditional contenders, Michael and Rukadi, were upset by a person that Abdul would say a non-starter. A non-starter. And people had, I think that there had been communication from the voters beforehand that they wouldn't take this public jostling any further. And the defeat was a shocker because people thought if Rukadi would be defeated, then Michael would become the MP. But both of them were overwhelmingly defeated.
Abdul, the issue, you didn't comment on lining up behind people. Did it really affect?
It does. You know, we are talking about people of the same communities, families, clanmates, villagers, social groups, and so on, and they come together. So in all those groups, you always have leaders, what we call opinion leaders, and so on. If the head of the clan is in a certain line, the head of the family, or the head of the Marwa group, or all those sort of things count. And there is what we call undue influence because of the lining up. It may look transparent, but I'm telling you, it will affect other people. That's why in the wider democracy, we say it is secret ballot, such that I vote with both my heart and my head. Here, it might be very, very different in most cases. Then, if you've got a certain group like the youth, they literally threaten others. Say, why are you there? And yes, why are you on that line? Or why have you not come on this line? And it was all over because the youth seem to have been very active. Many of them, after being given a little bit of facilitation, that's how we
promised.
How we have baptized the bribes. We call it facilitation. They come and they have got and they are
some of them with chemicals on their heads.
Oh yes, a few.
Did you watch the video of General Tafire after winning? He said it was in Runyangola. He said, "I'm going to buy all the warrage in the world for you."
Wasn't it AI?
There is one I saw when there are many people lying in the compound and so on. But I thought that was AI. But Otafile is one of those very humorous persons, and really sometimes he could have said it, not literally mean so.
But you remember the case of Honorable Dombo. You remember the other, was it the 5 or 10 million of constituency money? I was asked when he was a member of parliament.
CDF.
He said, I bought pilau, I will cook pilau.
And people ate.
And people ate.
In my constituency, it was a very big voting factor. Pilau.
and let me tell you what we did, and Domba became commissioner, I think, at that time. We started advocating for the scrapping of the CDF. You remember?
Which we did.
Yes, and we are saying this is nonsense. They give you 10 million shillings and every they say, by the way, those guys are giving money 10 million shillings. And every voter wants a piece of the 10 million shillings to be given.
For the development.
And you can't do anything with the 10, it's just putting a petty cash. So, one, I don't know whether this lining up serves the purpose or it causes more confusion. If I had a choice, of course the other one would be very expensive. I'm sure for a party to afford a secret ballot process, it will be very, very expensive.
But also there are places where those village people come determined and say, let us show him.
Yeah.
And they take their stand. I think in many cases, that's the case. That's why you see...
To show the
incumbents.
Or the one they are voting against.
The one they are voting.
Well, it can't be about incumbents.
You can,
yes, you're incumbent, but...
the candidates. You have seen people who have used the money and influence.
Oh,
to take the military. Take the case of Honorable Sami Ngola in the NRM.
Yeah.
He had been known to be the man with money, entrenched NRM person.
And the swag.
Yes, but he loses. I think there are cases where they come and...
those are really isolated cases. Those are for very bad people.
But just look at the turn. If people were fearing, the turn-up wouldn't be where it is. It would be much lower. But I'm giving, if you check the constituencies, majority of constituencies, 60 and above turn-up. 60 and above turn-up.
In an NRM election, usually it's high, I think.
Yes.
Turn up. There's almost
but that's what I'm saying. If the turn up is 60 and above, and yet the secret ballot is even lower. Yeah. Secret ballot is lower.
You are just looking at the
results. Who's saying
because the results show even 70%.
Says Hey Gang says here in Kashari South where I voted, it was a mess. Huge sums of money exchanged hands. Where in one of the polling sessions in Bwizibwera, students from tropical school were brought in to vote, and after they didn't pay them what they promised, they also went on strike.
But the good thing about these days is there is social media.
Yeah.
Because when you see, especially on online, you can see so many lines with kids, 8, 9, 10 lining up, and somebody say, Kuminaina, Kuminaitanu, oh, that one is they are counting them.
Women who come with children strapped on their back.
Yes,
and then the person counting counts
all the heads. It is one head, one vote.
Banks tells you he went to vote in Fort Portal, and my candidate won, but the road to get there was hell. Then Bahati Johnson says at somewhere people like Mangusha should be defeated because they know the thuggery of NRM elections. Being a senior journalist, he has seen this before and he knows it. Did he expect it to change because he is contesting?
Yeah,
go on.
I think there are aspirations and there are political realities. The political reality is that if you're not a member of the NRM in Toro region, it's a mountain of a task. Charles had come as an independent first. He lost that election very thinly. Then he joined the NRM. So it's a very, very difficult. Kafuzi is also in the NRM. It's a mountainous task.
Honorable Jackson Kafuzi tried, I think, twice.
DC. Yes.
DC.
Yes.
Yeah, he was going nowhere.
And he left.
And when he returned.
Yes. So we are waiting, actually. The one that we're waiting for is Doreen Nyanjura, who is in Mwenge, to see if she turns around that constituency. But it's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely.
But Charles, even now, when he has gone to NRM, and he's my friend, I wish him well.
Who?
No.
But Mwangusha.
Okay.
But the majority of people who turn from opposition parties into NRM actually win.
Yeah.
Many of them
Charles, win. Charles is an exception.
Yeah.
But the leaders you have today,
Muyanga,
Namara, for example, Dennis.
Yeah, but
Thomas Taevwa too, Anita Mong,
together from university days.
Wakida.
Yes, Dr. Patrick Wakida.
Wakida was with you people in FDC, turning into NRM. Now, I'm told he's almost the kingmaker in his kibuku. Yes,
because he went with a lot of money. Because he went with a lot of money. Even the same even Taibwa, by the way, when Taibwa went to, and I think that was the reasoning. He when he went to run, when he was in FDC and defected to NRM, by the time he went to run for a parliamentary seat, he had money to spend to be able to compete with the NRM people. So the issue is that sometimes in these communities of ours, people are not so detached, are not so attached to parties, by the way. But they have the mentality of every government in power. They find it sometimes risky, but unattractive to associate with a candidate who comes from the opposition. But even when you join NRM, it's not a guarantee. You must have money because it is the key driving factor.
Oscar,
let me give you a final word on this topic, Honorable Emmanuel Dombo, and then we can also squeeze in matters NUP, seeing that
Oscar, one of the things people who cross from parties joining others, I'll give them an example of myself. When I first joined politics, I had a UPC background because I'd been a president of NUSU in schools, and
you're not alone on that one. On that one, you're not alone in the studio.
And
most intelligent people have that background.
And when they went for a referendum in Uganda to go to multipartyism, the parties were using, is it a dove?
Yeah.
And the movement was using a bus. Now, I knew the people who initially registered as NRM in Butaleja were formerly DP, because that's the party that had been against the UPC then, and UPC had boycotted. And I knew that if I went in an election where they are the ones and they were predominant, they would perhaps say I'm not part of them. So the first thing I did was to mobilize everybody in Butaleja to join the bus. And the members of UPC were asking me, how do we do? He said, we have a dove. What do we do? I said, put it under the arm, Pete, and we go in the bus. So they entered the bus and asked me, I'm in the bus with the dove. What do I do? I said, you release the dove to enjoy the benefit of the bus. And that's how we mobilized the population in Butaleja to enter the bus. Now, it became easier for me in subsequent elections because I had entered with my team, which I had mobilized, and we were all NRM. If you are perceived to be from the opposition and you enter a group that you have been abusing, you are most likely to get challenges unless you mobilize the team to go with. This is a live example which I wanted to give, but also to say that indeed politics is very strange. President Museveni wrote a confidential message, but because we discussed it in the top management to the Secretary General, he had been briefed how the sectarianism was being used in certain areas, and he directed the Secretary General to talk to certain individuals and the message he gave him. But there were areas where, irrespective of the goodness of the individuals, the issue was either Catholic or Protestant or ethnicity, Bafuruki, against some people in certain areas. And he says this has not been the foundation of the movement. And he directed the Secretary General to say, deal with this matter so that it doesn't become an issue. Talk to the candidates. And there was even a risk of disqualification of some of the candidates if it becomes major and prominent. So, why people vote and why they vote against, I would have loved Mwangusha to come in. I wouldn't pray for him on the radio because I'm supposed to be neutral. But as
would have been a value addition.
He would have been. Like many people, Honorable Hon Katuntu is a very good debater.
Not yet honorable, but still Hon Katuntu.
These people who are looking for votes, they try to introduce themselves as honorable to be.
That's Emmanuel Dombo.
Even at sub-county level.
Hold on a bit.
I accept the compliment.
But
good addition.
Honorable Dombo.
Yes, please.
Two Sundays ago, we had a Sunday walk in Entebbe, and it was very, very interesting. By the way, Benjamin, I only saw one. We started counting them. We only saw one poster of NUP. I think it's Wamala Rule wants to be a mayor. All the others were NRM posters, very NRM posters. And we counted. There were 3 Baganda standing in Entebbe. All others were, there were 2 from Eastern region, and all others were from the Western region. So maybe we are moving up in terms of those ethnicity, religion, and so on. People can stand anywhere.
Yeah, but also look at the population in Entebbe.
Yes.
Privileged to have spent my early childhood in Entebbe. The Baganda, yes, no, but it has even become worse. It has even become worse. First of all, it's a cosmopolitan area, but also the Baganda are not like you would imagine, because this is Buganda. There are very, very few people in Buganda, especially the municipality. Entebbe municipality. There are very few Baganda. So that you have other tribes and so on
coming up,
it will be normal.
Final words, Emmanuel Dombo, on these elections and what's
final word.
up?
I want to say that right now, for us, we're almost constituting the final list of the flag bearers. Like I said, we're waiting for the SIGs, the Ofono Pondos.
SIG is what?
Special interest groups.
Okay.
Once they determine their flag bearers, this rate, the attrition rate, gives us a challenge because we have to take them back again to the school. You know, in the NRM, we do political ideology. People must learn, and the values of the party must be taught.
Thank you. Let's stop for a break, and then we'll talk about NUP after the break. We'll come back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. We are into the final lap. Benjamin Katana. So how is NUP going about all this?
Well, we have been receiving expression of interest from the prospective candidates, and up to the 25th of this month, after which there will be a vetting. And in addition to the vetting,
25th is next Friday.
Yes, and after the vetting by the electoral management committee, then there will be, normally we get an independent research team to go and conduct surveys in the different constituencies to get a pulse of from the ground. Because the reasoning is that if Katana has very good credentials and we give him a card, it's not enough if you'll not be able to win for us this constituency. So we always want to know what the ground thinks. And there have been many questions from people saying, why don't you also conduct primaries like NRM? And would have loved to, because it has its advantages. It has its challenges, but it has its advantages. When the person wins and has been voted for by many people, it comes with a big force. The challenge, of course, is that the current constitution that we run with, which we inherited from the small party, did not envisage such a massive operation. And so that we attempted to amend the constitution. Then the Electoral Commission didn't amend it. Our plan was that we should have a structure, at least from the LC, where people can, you have a structure at LC1, LC2, so that people can vote at that level for the flag bearer. Of course, the other challenge, the other threat from going that direction is that the environment in which we operate, if this violence that took place involved the NUP, they would have even stopped they would have stopped the entire exercise. Also the fear that the process will be highly infiltrated. They will give a person money to make sure that he's the one who goes through, and after he has got the flag, the next day you will say, I'm no longer interested in running in this particular constituency. Because we have seen it in the general elections. So many people, you'll see these young people in Karamoja, where after they have got the party cards, after 1 month, they will come and say, I want the endorsement from the party to withdraw from the race after nominations. And of course, people who have been in these things know what informs that. So for now, that's the process we are going to use. Would have loved to have it in a different way, but no.
How long are you going to fear?
That I have mentioned that's one of the reasons. It's not the only factor, but the major factors are those that I have mentioned.
The questionable bit, and people have put that to you.
Yes.
How do you assess? How would you go to Toro and say this one is on the ground?
Yeah, so that's why I've said that we normally rely on an independent research team, which goes and asks today, if elections were to take place today between Katuntu and OO, whom would you choose? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a very unfair example. Because there's only one they will choose.
So, Raymond, on NUP, their processes
I am
and
keen.
their constraints.
I am keen to find out. I think there are areas where there's high contention in terms of the NUP card, and that will be in areas like Kampala, in areas like Wakiso. I already see the race in Nansana has gotten so heated that the party has to determine something. I see a race in Kawempe South too between Roy Semboga and the chairman Nyanzi. Those races, the party will have to create some harmony on how they arrive at the winner. But you have to sympathize.
And Chairman Nyanzi has an unfair advantage.
Of course, he's the party mobilizer, chief mobilizer, but also he's a brother to the party president, which I don't think will help him. But I sympathize with opposition parties because, one, you already have a very militarized election against you. Two, I think many opposition parties interpret people being disgruntled with unpopularity. So there are places where people are disgruntled with the NRM, but they might still vote it. And that sometimes plays on the minds of the opposition.
That's the miracle you referred to at the beginning of the show.
Yes, you find places where people say, we are unhappy with this, we're unhappy with this, we're unhappy with this, but we'll still vote. And that... the Ugandan voter is like that. They see the sense of security that they will get from a very specific party, a very specific apparatus, and they will go with that over a traditionally good candidate. But the sympathy aside, this is also a trying moment for the National Unity Platform because this is now going to be their second elective cycle. And if the process is not well managed, you can have a flare-up within the party. So I think they are taking all the care they can in the world to have no flare-ups immediately after announcing which people will get the card and which people will not get the card. But like I said, in urban constituencies, you'll have a lot of contestation. In rural constituencies, maybe not so much. Yeah.
Okay. Ofono Pondo, NUP is going to experience a lot of problems. Some people are saying
they have already
the NRM is sponsoring some parties that are coming up. So,
well, first of all, they have already had issues internally that you can say a split, as you know, Mpoga and his group, whether they will have a dent, they will make a dent into NUP wave, particularly in Uganda, because I think NUP has remained essentially a central region thing. They may be having people shouting at border stages in different parts of the country, yes. Secondly, they have had the last 5 years in parliament, in government. In some places, they are the chairpersons of local governments, and you know what's going on, where you have a chairman of NUP, also chairman LC5, being roped in on corruption, especially corruption to give people money, to give people jobs. If somebody is in Mpigi, is NUP, and has paid money, 20 million, 40 million, to get a job in the local district service commission, where NUP is the boss, I doubt if they can sell the same message of hope, of diligent service, as they did. That euphoria, I think, is gone. And then, what is raising as their fears, I don't think warrants for the second time to give cards the way they are giving, and that's why you hear, which they avoid to explain, the extortion, where they say there are specific people who are paid money. You want a card? There's the official probably money, but also there's the backhand slap. Do you give somebody who's in charge of giving that card? I think they're using this explanation as a convenience to avoid transparency and accountability, and also to be tested on the ground. So I don't see them expanding beyond in a significant way. In Toro, where I come from, I don't see that. In my constituency, I don't think they will even get a candidate. But if they do, it will be for a different purpose, not for winning an election, or even for putting up a good fight there. No, it is not possible.
Yeah.
So then, of course, you have seen the new formation of PFF. I would have thought, and even when PFF and ANT, you remember they have recently made Mukagu, kind of a working cooperation. One would have expected that probably they would go to the leading opposition party. I suspect that PFF is seeing that there is a vacuum, a political vacuum, particularly here in Buganda, on account of NUP failing to rise to the occasion. And that's why you can see that PFF is actually putting candidates, and the vice versa, NUP is also putting candidates where PFF is. Even where PFF has a stronger candidate, and we would say maybe as opposition, they would leave that stronger candidate who has a realistic possibility of winning to go and challenge, so that they concentrate their efforts where there's no.
You have a chance.
Yeah. So I foresee that they are going to get fewer members of parliament. I don't think PFF or FDC will be a major threat, but they will chip off some of that.
I like that young lawyer Musi, but I'm surprised.
George.
Yes, I was surprised he really intends to stand against Semujo.
Yeah, but you can see Semujo, even with the popularity, quote and unquote, you can see that he started his campaign very early, meaning there's something he's fearing, that if he doesn't tighten his belt, this could easily.
I don't know how fair that is. You and Katuntu, you started campaigning the day after the election.
No, but I'm saying,
yeah.
If you look at the incumbent members of parliament, especially around.
That's what they do.
The person who is having election, the highest election visibility by either media, by posters, by vehicles that are having this process and doing a drive round is Honorable Semujo. I suspect that he's not taking that Mississippi thing. Because if they can and they say just do Mamvoli, it could easily take him. It could be one of the surprises.
He keeps telling you that even NRM is a threat to him because his constituency was made extremely large to combat him, in his opinion.
No, actually, Honorable Segona's constituency is the most populated in this area here.
The NRM candidate in the Chira municipality is for different reasons. I don't think he's competing to win.
That's by the way. If you have heard PFF, they are saying George Mississippi is an NRM stooge. In fact, they say he's an MK sponsored stooge to kind of dent him. I don't know if you have heard.
Well, Raymond usually tells us all that. He says, wait until the PLU starts standing against NRM. And he says, these days are coming.
Well, I thought we were discussing NUP.
No, you're the one who went off the tangents.
Oscar, recently,
NUP, yes.
The National Unity Platform set up an eminent committee of leaders to investigate certain allegations that had been made by one of the leaders in the NUP about the processes of selection of who the flag bearers and the leaders are. And this speaks a lot of volume, that in a situation where there are no proper regulations or unclear regulations, you are likely to come up with these challenges. My brother here, Mr. Katana, has described the process. It sounds well on microphone, but in implementation, it becomes a challenge. That's why when Ofono Pondo told you in the NRM, when we are transitioning from the movement system to the multipartyism, the question is, where do we go? Do we go democracy? Do we go electoral college? Or do we go adult suffrage? These are the challenges that happen. But because NUP was still a young organization, and they had promised a lot of heaven through the wave, nobody knew them. Nobody knew what they could deliver. It would be like when you move with a man on a kanzu and he doesn't have a panty under him. You not know what is behind there. But when you climb a tree and he goes higher, you begin discovering that, hey, by the way, when we're on the same level, this man was like this, but he has gotten higher. You see what is happening. As the members of NOP started going higher, people started seeing what was below them, and they started discovering that after all, they may not be very different from the people they are alleged to fight. They are human beings. They also want money. And they fight against PDM in the constituencies, but they go to parliament to get their own PDM. And the voters are discovering and saying, if this is the way to go, why can't we? Why should they dissuade us from benefiting from government programs when they themselves, they go, they get a package in the parliament, either as a commissioner, as a member of parliament, you are well off. When you fall sick, you are taken abroad for treatment. Yet the people you are taking into harm's way, you leave them and nobody is fighting for them. So the narrative may be different. That's why you hear now they have come up with something called the protest vote, when actually the issue is not protesting, but they say protest vote in order for everybody to vote, which doesn't have much meaning.
The issue may be eating. Nora Waraga back again. And Entebbe had always been heavy Buganda and DP stronghold. Last election, DP was handed victory. DP was handed victory to NUP, but NUP did not really do well in office in terms of representing Entebbe. They have an ongoing public repulsive infights. NRM is attempting to take Entebbe, but I don't think they will manage. It's a NUP and DP battle. Then on Exa...
but the mayor of Entebbe is not NUP, so I don't know how NUP
is NRM.
Is NRM. I don't know how NUP has not served well in the office in Entebbe.
So then you have Paul Bank says, Kiruhura, no NUP, no poster. Mbara, no poster. Isingiro, no poster.
Actually, also on the question of posters, they are always removing posters of opposition people. It's not restricted to NUP.
Yes.
They
then
are
you
always
have
removing posters.
Norman Magembe again says, NOP is a party of hope. For her, Abdi is not going to like this one. NOP is a party of hope for many Ugandans, but truth be told, they will never take parliament or the presidency. It's just a party of hope. And I compare it to Arsenal.
That's unfair. That's very unfair.
To wait and hope for the next election season.
No, so but Oscar, maybe I just wanted to draw an experience. The actual election itself has not yet been defined, and normally the election will get defined the closer you get to the presidential nomination. Some of these things that start out in the fringes as protest vote, those are the things that eventually define the election. So right now, I don't think any NUP person would want to put out their posters. You will be spending a lot of money. Yeah. They will be tearing those posters down. And for what purpose do they serve anyway? So the election is still very much open to being defined on what it will look like.
Okay, Abdul on microphone now says Tusubida Renette says please add somewhere. Okay, tell Atofono Pondo that in Eastern region only 2 ministers survived. That's Millie and Kadaga. Who is Millie?
Babalanda. That's not whole of the Eastern region. Because both survived with the big margin.
I think he wanted to save Soga.
Soga, maybe.
Maybe. Honorable Mulimba survived.
No, he wanted to save Soga.
Yeah. So, Abdul, on NUP and their method, any hope, or you are with this one who has said it's a party of hope like a certain football team?
Caught between a rock and a hard place, the National Unity Platform is now. Let me tell you why. First, during the last election, the circumstances of COVID, and then it was a new party, it was understandable that they had to be innovative on how to come up with candidates. So whether the system was clear or not clear, the circumstances were such that we could appreciate it. Now, you cannot afford to have an opaque system, an academic system of picking candidates. Democracy is about choice of the majority. The sort of system they are trying to explain to me doesn't reflect such. You see, with all challenges of adult suffrage, it still remains the best way of determining a candidate. 2, In event that you find that a little bit of complicated, then you go to a clear electoral college defined. First of all, by your own constitution. What does your own constitution say about how you come up with parliamentary candidates? That we've not had a debate. Because I expected the National Unity Platform to say, look here, this is our constitution, this is what is provided. So that anybody, either as a member or wishing to take over, to take up that contest position, he would know these are the rules. As of now, they're all at their headquarters. Because, I've had a lot of this, Oscar. That one, the principal will not allow that one a card. That one is like this and so on. It is already going around. One of the constituencies which people are talking about, by the way, Mr. Katana, is, for example, the one of Segona. Because the way he has had a little bit of disagreement and his former association with the Kavlan, people are like, no, they cannot allow to give him a card. But what do the people say? The voters themselves. Secondly, do people have a chance? Because you see, if you are to blame the NRM, you need to look at yourselves too and say, in the NRM, they don't give a fair chance to any member to compete for a position. I'm sure you, my brother Dombo's belatedly phrase, because there was no chance for any other person. So, is there a chance for every National Unity Platform to compete freely, to contest for that position? And is it known by all members? These are the rules. And two, is it open? For example, that research, who is doing it? How is he doing it? What I don't buy in politics, Oscar, is like, we are fearing infiltration, then leave politics. Just abandon it. You see, politics, you cannot fear infiltration. Just get overwhelmed with the infiltration. But you can't fear, because all of us, like for us, and we have a little bit of experience, by the way, you must infiltrate your opponent's camp. Either way, that is called survival instinct, political survival. There is no way you will not try to see what goes on in their opponent's camp. And how do you influence it? If you say, I can't do that because I've been infiltrated, that's not politics. Doesn't happen anywhere.
Polling agents, where even he didn't have a candidate in NRM primaries.
Station. And I can tell you this, Mr. Dombo, Honorable Dombo. I know, first of all the polling stations which actually voted. I know which votes they got. And I know where they just allocated the votes and there was no voting. I know the exact detail. And even your candidate may not know. Which I know. Even you, Dombo, as a secretary, you don't know. If you want the actual thing, I can give you intelligence. This is what happened. At no cost. Why? That is how we survive. Because you must know each polling station, how it has voted, what is the trend. Then during this campaign, you see how you can handle it. If you don't have that, you're finished. So to me, Oscar, the National Unity Platform has got to do two things in my view. Either you go to a clear electoral college, where they know these are your structures, the people who are in that constituency have got a voice to pick on who their candidate should be, the National Unity Platform members. If you go to your structures, but the structures are very weak, I think they did have many of them, or you go back to the wave. You go back to the wave and say, well, let's pick somebody. But that can only work in areas where NUP is very strong. For example, in central Uganda, but not even the whole of in Budu, it could be a different game. In Budu, because of the one of the groups where NUPs and they have since shifted. In other areas, you may even have bigger. You go to Tororo to have candidates of NUP, and you are. I don't know how many candidates, for example, in Tororo, where you come from, who are already looking for votes on NUP tickets.
I've seen one poster.
And then in Mr. Nyombo, Mr. Dombo.
That's a new addition,
Mr. Nyombo. Mr. Dombo. So to me, Oscar, but you need to give also a benefit of doubt to them. They're operating under very difficult circumstances. So they must try to be innovative, but as I said, it is really quite difficult for them.
Duncan Abigava says, I did say he had an accident last night, so that's why he's not here. He says, gang, I've been in the field during the NRM primaries. The greatest undoing of election has been the NRM electoral officers. So Emmanuel Dombo, you need to take that back. Many were compromised to announce wrong results.
Correct.
In Kamuli, where I am, the NRM electoral officer is in sales until Monday, when Dr. Doyle will make a ruling on the Kamuli election results. The NRM should try to recruit more credible people for election management, not just relatives. Recommended by big people.
This is something that has come up in the NRM and in one of the recent top management committee. We observed and said that going forward, we may need to recruit senior people during the party primaries so that they can manage the process of receiving, retrieval, and announcement of results. Because the election officials that we have, many of them have been campaign agents for some of the candidates. Others were even threatening the candidates. Yes. That if you don't do this, you are saying this, I'm the final person.
Okay, thank you, Manuel. Raymond, just 1 second and I'll get Benjamin to close this up. But Dr. Glover says the criticism of NUP for not conducting primaries of the NRM kind is disingenuous. Only the NRM can conduct such primaries in the current context. They are too costly and perceptive observers. They are too costly and observers know how the NRM finances them.
But even in areas where there's
he's saying you cannot work it like NRM.
Anyway, Oscar, we are about to approach the election in the NRM where elites actually contest, which is the second election, and you will see these underhand methods where people say step down. And in areas like Sembabule, for example, you had a devil's deal of sorts. You do one term, another person does another term, and immediately the person came to pick nomination forms. They told them, the devil's deal still stands. So in areas where you have elite contestation, and it's the same with Segona, for example, those contestations have to be resolved by the party. The party must choose, but the ultimate litmus test will be the voters. If you send a weak candidate, the voters will let you know that this is a weak candidate.
Benjamin Katana, NUP, last word. I hope it will be the last word.
the proposal that Honorable Abud is giving is what we are, when we are trying to amend our constitution, these are the proposals that we are trying to bring to life. But unfortunately, again, on account of environment, the process was frustrated by the regime through Electoral Commission. So the NUP is committed to having transparent and open processes, but we are not naive. And we have a duty to make sure that we protect, because we know that the organizations that have tried to fall for every advice that especially comes from people that are not friends, we know where they have ended. So we are not naive. We know which advice to take and which advice not to take. And the other interesting thing is that most of the people who complain about the processes of NUP are people who that don't wish to see NUP grow. So is it because they want NUP to follow their advice and perish? But most importantly is to say that the process much as is different from what, for example, NRM does, is transparent in a sense that whoever participates in this process already know the rules. These rules are communicated and followed up to the last minute.
Thank you so much, listeners of the Capital Gang. Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering Gang. I have a new book here, My Life and My Work in Uganda and Beyond, written by Mr. Vincent B. Sekono. Then yes, yes. So thank you, Honorable Hon Katuntu. Thank you, very soon to be Honorable Ofono Pondo. Thank you, Honorable Dombo Lumala. Thank you, Maneman Benjamin Katana. Thank you, Media Man Raymond Mujuni. Rough Cuts is next. I am Oscar.
Golova says you don't have money, and they are calling you Money Man.